So in this week's video, I want to share with you 5 amazing books that I have been reading lately that I think would really help you in your accounting practice. So I did a video like this about 4 years ago on the top 3 books that I think accountants should read, and I'll just recap those again. That's The Firm of the Future by Paul Dunn and Ron Baker, the gurus of value pricing. The Clients for Life, Mark Lloydbottom and David Cottle. Mark Lloydbottom, I owe him so much for the 4 planning pillars that I came up with by reading this book. And then, of course, the Accountant Success Formula. There's my shameless plug. Those were the 3 books. Now, what I want to show you are 5 totally new books that you may have never heard of before, but I think they're absolutely amazing. So the first one is a book called Activating Champions. It's by Christopher Flett. Now, Chris Flett is the CEO of a company called Ghost CEO. He's a coach, and he was actually my first business coach when I went out and started doing coaching myself. And again, I say, if you have a coach who doesn't have a coach, you need a new coach. So Chris was amazing helping me get my business started and up and running. And this book that he has, and this is why I want you to read it in your accounting practice, is Champions, Activating Champions. It's all about finding and activating champions to send you referral clients, to send you your ideal client that you want. And champions are like bankers, lawyers, financial advisors, all those people that are working with your ideal client. You want them sending them to you. Well, Chris has a systematic method by which you activate these people. And here's one of the quotes I want to just share with you on this, is it says, champions are an educated, unpaid sales force for your business. I love that. It's just brilliant. So fantastic book, Activating Champions, Chris Flett. Get it, it's fantastic. Okay, second book is one that I actually mentioned on last week's video. It's The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. This is from Mark Manson. This book is amazing. It's all a mindset book. And one of the quotes in here, and of course he uses the F-bomb for good measure because it sells books, but it's a really fantastic read. It's not very big, but it'll change your mindset. And here's one of the lines he has in there. He said, and while there's nothing wrong with good business, the problem is that giving too many fucks is bad for your mental health. So what are we getting by that? Basically, he's saying, don't try and serve all people and do all things. Focus on, and what I say is success is what you say no to. Focus on the things that work for your business and all the rest of it. Don't worry about that stuff. But there's a lot more in here. This is a gem. This is like a spiritual mental health book. This is an incredible read, so highly recommend this one. Okay, the third one is also on the mindset, but for business owners, and this is The Gap and the Gain by Dan Sullivan. Dan Sullivan is the founder and head creative officer, shall we say, for Strategic Coach. Now, Strategic Coach, that's where I go, and Dan Sullivan is my coach, so he's my current coach. The Gap and the Gain is incredible because, so here's the gist of the book, is that as you're progressing towards a goal, if you're always measuring where you are today against the future ideal of where you think you should be. So in other words, you think you should be farther ahead, like you want to make a certain amount of money. Let's say you want to make $400,000 in your firm and you're only making 150 or 200. You're going to go, oh, I'm in a gap. You're measuring from where you are today from where your ideal is. It's always a negative number. That's the gap. But if you measure yourself from where you are today from where you were before, so if you go back and say, well, when I first articling as a student, I was making 30 grand a year. Well, at least I was, but I'm much older, I'm sure. Than that, I'm actually 54 now. So when I first started, I made 30 grand a year. Well, if you look 4 years in advance, I'd be like, holy crap, I'm making a hell of a lot more now. So this is that gain. And that's the gist of what this book is about. And so, one of the things that I like in here, and here's a great quote from the book. It says, if you focus on what you lack, you lose what you have. So if you're focused on this negative, this gap, you're going to lose what you have. But if you focus on what you have, you gain what you lack. Let that one sink in for a while. Fantastic book. Highly recommend reading this one. The next book, slightly shameless plug, but I'm going to show it to you. Steve Wilkinghoff, called Found Money by Steve Wilkinghoff. Now, this is Simple Strategies for Uncovering the Hidden Profit and Cash Flow in Your Business. This is an incredible book for your clients. I highly recommend you read this so you understand where profitability comes for your clients. Now, I have partnered up with Steve Wilkinghoff and have created a program called the Profit Advisory Formula. That's inside the Accountant Success Formula. You can have access to it. What we have created is a model where we'll do all the work that Steve talks about in this book and deliver it for you, through you to your clients. So you become the champion to your clients, not like champion in Chris's book, but you become the hero to your clients, and you get paid really well to show them how to find money, how to unleash profit. And we call it Profit Advisory Formula. But in here, the big aha, the dropper for me, he's got a paragraph in here, and it's actually a whole section on a chapter. It's called The Death Spiral of a Business. Did you know a business can actually go bankrupt by putting too much emphasis on a profitable product or service? It blew my mind when I thought about, wait a second, if you've got a profitable product or service, you should be able to make the business go, but it can actually tank the company, it can actually bankrupt the company. And in the book, when he's explaining it, it says, right about now, your jaw should be dropped. And my jaw was dropped, and I was like, wow, this is insane. So anyways, fantastic read, highly recommend it. And by the way, the foreword on this book was written by Michael Gerber. If anybody knows the E-Myth, Michael Gerber's a guru in the business space and a thinker. So Steve is the real deal here. And again, Profit Advisory Formula, for those of you that are interested, reach out to me, let me know. I'd love to let you know a little bit more about it. And so the last one, this one's a behemoth. It's not for the faint of heart. This is the big book. Look at that size of this thing. This is a 16-hour audiobook. If you got an audiobook, it'd be 16 hours. But this is probably one of the most important reads that I have ever done. And I did this over the week I was in Mexico. It's called The End of the World is Just the Beginning by Peter Zeihan. Okay? And it's mapping the collapse of globalization. It's a history lesson mapped with economics and geopolitical infrastructures. It explains so much about what's going on in the world. Peter Zeihan is one of the amazing thought leaders. He actually predicted that Russia was going to invade Ukraine 3 years before they actually did it. He actually mapped it out. He said, this is what's going to happen in this, and because of the geopolitical landscape and all of the different pieces. Now, the thing that I want to highlight from here in the book, it's the section on finance. And he has been talking about the end of globalization. It's going to impact the ability to access capital. In other words, to be able to borrow money. So if you've been dealing with any of your clients, and if you've been looking at any borrowing rates, the rates have gone through the roof, and the lending criteria have gone through the roof. It's getting harder and harder for people to get access to capital, exactly the way he said it was going to happen. And all these other sections in this book, he talks about labor, he talks about agriculture, he talks about finance and energy. It's an amazing read, and like I said, it's not for the faint of heart. It's a big, thick read, but it's well worth it. I'm so much smarter, and I understand where things are going to be going in the future. So there you go. So here's the last one. So let's just review that again. So, and again, I really hope you read these because they're amazing books. Activating Champions by Christopher Flett. Okay. We've got The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson. We've got Found Money by Steve Wilkinghoff. We've got The Gap in the Gain by Dan Sullivan. And the last behemoth, End of the World is Just the Beginning by Peter Zeihan. So there you go. Those are the 5 top books that I highly recommend reading. It will help you immensely. So there you go. There's the end of this video. So as always, I'm Erik Solbakken, reminding you that when you take back control of your business model, you can take back control of your life. Stay tuned for more success tips to come.